Hi, I'm Susan Beck.
And I'm Kay Hickman.
And today we're continuing the journey with our This and That embellishment sampler.
You know, we are doing a lot of techniques, and although we're putting them together in a sampler, each one of these could be used in an entire project by itself.
They are all standalone techniques that you can use for a lot of different projects, you're right.
They are.
And what we are looking at today is a technique that we call stitch recipes. And this is where we take a single line of a decorative stitch and combine it with several lines and create a whole new stitch pattern. Okay, the most important thing that you want to look at when you're creating stitch recipes is the placement of the stitches, because you want each line to work with the others to create a seamless design so that it looks like a complete entire design. So you need to get them placed exactly next to each other, and the way that you do that is you use a presser foot that will help you. And I have presser foot 34 and 34C, which are both clear sole presser feet, so you can easily see the stitching area. You also have red markings on these presser feet so that they can show you exactly where the needle is going to be stitching. They can show you the center of the foot so that you can precisely align these stitches. Now, we are using 34C because it will stitch with certain Bernina models and give you a 9mm width stitch. So it's a very wide stitch, makes it really pretty. Other models use a 34 foot, and that will give you up to a 5mm width.
So how do we begin?
Well, the first thing you want to do is prepare your fabric, and I have a fusible fleece on the back of this quilting cotton to give it a little bit of a soft look, but then I've also added tearaway stabilizer because we need a really nice strong foundation to add all these stitches to the fabric because we don't want it to pucker or tunnel as we stitch. Next, we're going to make some markings on the fabric because one of the most important things in doing these stitches and stacking them this way is that they are vertically straight or horizontally straight, depending on how you're stitching them. But what I want to do is first put a horizontal marking across the fabric at the place where I want to start my stitching, so that every line of stitching starts at the same place. And then I will put a vertical line in the center so that I know where the center of my stitch recipe will be. The recipe that I'm doing today is symmetrical, so I'm doing the same stitches on the right side of the center line as I am on the left of the center line. Now, I've already stitched half of my stitch recipe. I actually have 5 rows of stitching here, and we're meshing them together to create one pattern. So I'm going to go to the other side of the center line and duplicate what I've done. The Bernina machines have a great feature called temporary altered memory, which means that when I make a change to a stitch, I can go and use another stitch, and if I come back to my original stitch, it will have those same changes as long as I haven't turned the machine off. All right, when you put your fabric under the presser foot, what you want to do is look for that horizontal line that you marked and align it with the side red markings on the presser foot, because that is where the stitch is going to start. You also want to sink your needle right on that line, and that will give me the beginning of the stitch at the same place as I began the stitch on the other side. And I'm simply sewing a line of the honeycomb stitch.
Having that clear foot really gives you a lot of visibility there too.
It does. You can see exactly where you're stitching. And you can see, Kay, that I left a space between these two right down the center line, and that's because I'm going to go back and fill it in. And one of the things I like to do is outline my decorative stitches with a triple straight stitch. This is the triple straight stitch, and it's just framing the edge of that honeycomb stitch. The red marking in the center of the foot is aligned with the outside of that honeycomb stitch. We're going to add another row of stitching that matches our decorative stitch on the other side. And you can see that I've switched thread colors. That's one of the fun things about stitch recipes. You can mix and match your thread colors, or you can do them all in the same color. It's really kind of up to you because this is your creation.
These are the stitches that I think look particularly nice in the 9mm width.
They do. They're very pretty. I'm adding the last stitch, which is the same as the outer stitch on the other side, but when you do this, if you're using a directional stitch, you need to remember to mirror image so that they face in opposite directions. Both of these face to the outside and give a finished look to the recipe. Earlier I told you that I was going to put a stitch down the center, so we're going to go back and do that to finish off our stitch recipe. Again, we put the horizontal red marks on the horizontal marked line, and I'm selecting a stitch that is a star stitch, or you could add a piece of ribbon down the center and do the decorative stitches on top of the ribbon. And here we have our stitch recipe.
And here you notice the one on our sampler. Many of the very same stitches were used, but you notice you get an entirely different look depending on the width and the length of the stitch. This is a really fun way to use all of your buttons in your button box. I have some buttons from my mother and my grandmother that I think I'd like to put on something like this.
Well, that would be fun.
So remember, whether you're putting your decorative stitches together in a stitch recipe or whether you're using them to stitch vines on this table runner, remember to explore all of the decorative stitches on your machine.
And if you'd like to explore other ways to use decorative stitches, visit your local Bernina dealer today.